Vanuatu in the South Pacific is a small country made up of roughly 80 islands. The largest island is named Espirantu Santo. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Espirantu Santo was established as the military supply base, naval harbour and airfield. The US used it as a launch site for its attack on the Japanese in the Pacific. At the time, parts of Vanuatu were a British and French colony. When the US military abandoned Espirantu Santo after World War II, it left behind infrastructure works such as roads, buildings and runways, and a very odd legacy known as $1 Million Point. During the evacuation, there was insufficient space on the ships to take both men and goods. Also, it was thought that if all the equipment returned to the US, it would severely affect the US economy, as no one would want to buy new trucks, jeeps or bulldozers due to the huge supply of ex-army equipment. So their remaining goods, everything from weaponry to bottles of Coca-Cola, were offered to the French and British at the very low price of 6 cents to the dollar. However, the British and the French were going on the assumption that should they refuse to buy the items, the US military would be forced to simply leave them behind, for free. But the Americans were having none of this. To spite the British and French, the military made the decision to drive all of the vehicles, food, clothing, drinks, and other equipment to a wharf on the southern coast of the island. The army lined up all the vehicles on the beach, with engines running, hand throttles on, and bricks on the accelerators, and watched as the vehicles sank into 40 metres of deep water just off the shore. Bulldozers were used to dump the rest of the supplies over the wharf, and then they were driven into the sea, ensuring that the European countries would not be able to get their hands on any items. Millions of dollars worth of goods were destroyed over a period of 2 days, rendering them unusable. As a result of the dumping, the waters were contaminated with fuel, rubber, metal and other waste, leaving the local Vanuatuans shocked at the carnage. However, they salvaged what they could once the Americans had finally departed. In 1948 and 49, one fortune seeker from New Zealand, now a resident in Vanuatu, salvaged 14 bulldozers and hundreds of tyres. He dragged out one bulldozer, washed it in fresh water, put in new oil, batteries and electrics, and it started. He used this to pull out other ones. Despite being in the water for more than 3 years, they were in good condition. The tyres with rims on soon collapsed as they rusted to pieces, but the ones without rims were almost as good as new tyres. Today, snorkelers and scuba divers can swim through this odd memorial to political spite, and to encounter the sight of what was a fortune's worth of military tanks, guns and jeeps, resting just beneath the waves.